What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick B. It's been a minute. Bet y'all wondering what happened and where I went. Nothing bad happened. Well, depends on how you look at it, but I never look at anything bad. Enjoying my cup of, that's Frank. That's Frank Coffee, one of our strongest advertisers. Enjoying one of my handcrafted personal brand that'll be coming out soon, and enjoying this gorgeous day. And a lot of the cases are either settled or nearing settlement, so I told y'all I would tell you what happened. I'm gonna try and do this as briefly as possible, so here it goes. Now, our show, Nick B in the Morning, was kind of a spin-off from another show that I was doing called The Nick B Show. The Nick B Show featured myself, LB, James, Courtney G, and JR. JR is our engineer, camera guy, and pretty much whatever else we need. When we first did the Nick B Show, it was on a local radio station. That local radio station decided they no longer wanted us to come in and do the morning show, even though it was still extremely popular. People were loving the music that we were playing. We had a disagreement over some staffing, I guess you could say, at the station, because I was also the program director at the time. And we just decided to part ways. I've told y'all that story, and not really getting into that one, but we had contracts. By we, I mean the company that puts together the Nick B Show and Nick B Entertainment, which had signed deals to syndicate, to be on other people's radio stations. Those are contracts. And at the end of the day, the only one that is on the hook for those contracts is technically me. It's my show, it's my company. I run it with, family members and investors and things like that. So it's not just my money that's on the line, it's other people's money. So just remember that. When the Nick B Show went off the air because we lost our home market, our home studio, I still had to honor those contracts. So one of our affiliates gave me a studio to use, and I went and honored fulfilled the contract. And then when I came back to Birmingham, it was with the goal of bringing the show back. James had moved on to bigger and better things. I'm grateful that he did. I'm grateful that he stayed with it. And I'm grateful that I could help him find hopefully something that he really enjoys doing, because it really is a great industry. It's got its ups and its downs, but it's a fun job. So when we came back, I knew bringing James back was going to be a challenge, if even at all. Even if if he'd be interested, he could have told me to fuck off, whatever the case may be. But Courtney G was still in the area, so I reached out to her. We started talking about potentially bringing the show back. She said she wanted to be part of it, so I was like, okay, let's do it. Because this is one of the jobs that I've had for years. It's not really one I like letting go of. Some people may tell me to, but they may be like, just quit and move on. But you can't. Once you get bit by the radio bug, you really can't leave that life. But anyway, getting ahead of myself. So I bought an office. I started fixing it up. Got it all done, got new equipment, got really good equipment. Spent over $100,000 getting everything ready, and started building a relationship back up with potential affiliates. And we did that for almost another year, I believe. I think we were coming into our second year. And I had the opportunity to also take over some radio stations. Some of the affiliates were asking, hey, can you become program director? So I started putting together a group of investors, mostly family and friends. And we started purchasing radio stations and taking them over and bringing them in, putting, Nick B in the morning on the morning show. If they didn't have one, I wasn't just buying them so that I could expand my show. That's not what I was doing. But I started taking over radio stations. And we ended up getting a lease on a really huge office. Started outfitting that. We're talking a lot of money. Not to get into specifics, but it was a lot of money. And then some of the people that I was working with, not my engineer, not any of the team that I was bringing on, nobody from the show, which is now at this point called Nick B in the Morning. We were on 6 different radio stations that were kind of like testing us. 1 or 2 of them had contracts. So we were getting a little bit of money from them so that we could continue to do the show and, again, continue to grow and do what we needed to do to bring in people, to pay people, all of that good stuff. And we were in a really good spot. This was back around summer of 2024, I believe. And then our FCC application, for some reason, was pulled. And some of the things about the FCC, and again, I understand why they have these rules. I get it. I'm not bashing them. But some of the things at the FCC are kind of like, if you've ever heard anybody tell you never talk to the FBI, because if you tell them something and you thought it was one way, but it turns out it was another way, you technically lied to a government official. And there's like a background check that you have to do for everybody that's going to be involved with these radio stations or potentially on air at these radio stations. Nobody with a felony is allowed to be on the air, is how it was explained to me. Now, again, I have to go on what lawyers have told me. Especially in a high position of that particular company. They can't be like a general manager dealing with money and the licensing and all of that good stuff. I believe they can just be a personality, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I don't know. I'm not giving any legal advice. I have no idea. Because that aspect of the business I leave up to lawyers. And if the lawyers are telling me, hey, this was the problem, then I got to believe that was the problem. Somebody that we had, actually, come to find out, there were more than one. There was more than one person who I've known a lot of them. I've known a lot of the people that I worked with for a good while. And finding out that they had felonies that they didn't tell me about wasn't something that I had on my bingo card. So that made it out like we lied on our FCC application, which we didn't. I just wasn't aware because I'm not going to do background checks on. At that point, I wasn't doing background checks on everybody that came through the door. I have always operated under the pretense of, if you need a job and you want to work, I've got the work. And as long as you're not like ripping me off or stealing, getting caught stealing, anything like that, we're good. Apparently, the federal government doesn't work that way. Shocker. So I essentially got sued by the federal government for lying on a government form, which, again, I didn't lie, I didn't know, but that's ignorance of the law is no excuse. And we have since rectified a lot of those situations. But meanwhile, contracts are in place. So who's responsible for those contracts? Whose name was on those contracts? Like, who actually signed it? It may have been a business, but the actual signature is who's technically liable for those contracts. That was me. So when members of the show quit showing up, they quit telling us, we started getting in violation of some of our terms with our affiliates. We did everything we could to keep the affiliates happy, but some of them decided that they wanted to take legal action, and it's perfectly in their right to do that because we, in their belief, breached the contract, even when things were out of our control. So that's essentially what it boiled down to. And then I had investors that I had told, hey, we get these, we get this, we do this, we do this. This is how you're going to get your money back, blah, 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 blah. When the show went away, so did a lot of those opportunities. It cost me relationships with friends, cost me relationships with vendors, cost me relationships with affiliates, cost me relationships, excuse me, all across the board. And just like when we lost our home studio, when we first got on the air as the Nick B Show, I was financially on the hook. I have a family of 5 people that rely on me. I have bills. Those bills keep coming regardless of the problems that you may be facing. So I had to do what I had to do. So I had the opportunity to go and do some movies and shoot a TV show and a couple of movies, and that's what I started doing. Excuse me. I got that done. Got the court cases worked out. Got everything where I needed to be. And hopefully we will get things turned back on here before too long, after we get the all clear from the investigation from the FCC. Now again, I may be detailing some of this incorrectly, and it's not, I'm not doing it intentionally. There are some things that I still can't really talk about. Some parts of the story aren't mine to tell, but next time around, there's definitely some background checks going on. We still have the office that I bought, and we still have the very big facility that I cannot wait to get in and rock. We still have some stations, so I'm still working that and doing that and trying to basically keep my head above water at this point. Trying to minimize the financial impact and the potential financial destruction of my life, for lack of a better term. So yeah, that's the nuts and butts of it, pretty much. You live and you learn. Like, I never in a million years would have thought anything like this would happen. I didn't take it as seriously as I probably should have, because again, I had lawyers and I had people that I was supposed to trust, or that I'm supposed to be able to trust, that should have caught some of these things and fixed it and told me, hey, you really need to do this, and none of them did. Thankfully, a lot of that's been rectified. We have a really good firm that we're working with out of DC now that is checking and double checking every single person that will be working at my broadcast company. And hopefully, Nick B in the Morning will come back, possibly with new people. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see where that goes. But right now, that's the most I can tell you. And all I can say is, if somebody's going to bat for you, telling you, hey, we got to do this. When we do this, we get here. When we get here, we get here. And when we get here, we go here. Where it would change your life, be honest with them. There's no sense in hiding anything. Just tell them the truth. Yeah, you might not be able to be on the air or run the station or whatever, but I can still find you a job. I understand people need the money, trust me. But the whole thing of keeping it and being deceitful and lying and covering up, it's not you. Your little lie may hurt you a little bit, but the people that you didn't tell, it could potentially destroy them. And when there's families involved, you gotta do what's right, man. You gotta, I don't know, maybe it's the Xer in me. I would never do that to anybody. Not intentionally, anyway. So yeah. Again, that's the nuts and butts of it. We've worked our way through the majority of it. I've lost a lot of money. Like I said, I lost a lot of friends, a lot of contacts in the industry. Some of the deals we were working on, we had to stop kind of abruptly because of the FCC. So I don't like how it made us look. But we're working on fixing a lot of those, fixing the bulk of those. And like I said, hopefully we'll get the show back on here soon and start rocking with you again. And when the movies and TV come out, that's going to be a whole nother beast. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, follow me everywhere. I'm at Nick B Talks on all socials. That's where I'll update you. I'm primarily more active on Instagram, but I'm going to get more active on X because Instagram kind of banned me from doing lives because I called a rapist. So whatever. Catch me there. But for now, hug your loved ones each and every day because you never know when the good Lord will call them home. For every dark night, there's always a brighter day, and life's just a party, and parties weren't meant to last. I'll see you when I see you. Y'all be good.